Back when I was 17, life was pretty straightforward. High school, a part-time gig at the grocery store, and my first girlfriend. She was everything to me then, this bright spot in my small-town world. It was a Friday night in late spring, and I'd just clocked out, my apron still smelling like canned goods and sweat. I borrowed Mom's old sedan, this rattling piece of junk that somehow still ran, and drove over to her place. We didn't have much cash. My paycheck barely covered gas, but we hit up this little diner on the edge of town. Burgers, fries, a couple of Cokes. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like ours. The air was warm, the sky clear, and I remember thinking how perfect it was, just the two of us under those buzzing fluorescent lights. But as we finished up and the night stretched out, I didn't want it to end. Not yet. She leaned back in the passenger seat, her hair catching the glow of the dashboard, and sighed. This can't be it, right? The night's too short. I grinned, half joking, and said we were broke, couldn't hit the movies or anything. But then it hit me. A drive. Just us, the road, and whatever came next. We rolled through town first, past the shuttered shops and flickering streetlights. Then I turned onto a quieter stretch, where the pavement gave way to dirt and the woods swallowed everything else. The windows were down, and the air smelled like pine and earth. I felt free, like a real adult for once, but there was this tiny itch in my gut, like maybe we were pushing too far into the dark. Still, I brushed it off. What could go wrong on a night like this? A few miles in, my bladder kicked in. Too much Coke, I guess, and she laughed, admitting she needed a break too. I pulled over near a flat patch off the road, the headlights carving a weak slice through the trees. We stepped out, and that's when it hit us. This stench, heavy and wrong, like something dead left out too long. It wasn't skunk or trash, it was deeper, nastier. She gagged, pressing her sleeve to her nose, and I tried to play it cool, muttering something about another car stopping here before us. We shuffled over to the clearing, did what we needed to, quick and awkward, but as we turned back, a sound stopped me cold. A twig snapping, sharp and close, off to the left. My heart jumped. Bear? Deer? I told myself it was nothing, but my hands were already clammy. I glanced at her, her eyes wide and forced a smile. Probably just a raccoon, I said, but I didn't believe it. Before I could even touch the car door, it came. A scream, raw and human, slicing through the night from where we'd just been. Not an animal, not a trick of the wind, a real cry, full of pain or terror, I couldn't tell. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging in, whispering, "Don't go, please don't." But I shook my head. What if someone was hurt? What kind of guy would I be if I just drove off? I told her to get in, lock the doors, and wait. My voice sounded braver than I felt. I turned back toward the sound, my sneakers crunching on the dirt, every step heavier than the last. Then it screamed again, closer, sharper, and my stomach dropped. I wasn't a hero. I was a kid, and I was scared shitless, but I kept going, torn between running back and proving something to myself. The woods felt alive now, watching me, waiting for me to screw up. I fumbled with my phone, hands trembling so bad I nearly dropped it. The scream had stopped, but the silence was worse, thick, suffocating. I flipped on the flashlight, swung it around, but it barely cut through the dark. Nothing. Just trees and shadows. My chest tightened, every breath shallow and loud in my ears. I couldn't keep walking blind. I had to know. So I opened the camera, aimed it toward where the sound came from, and snapped a photo. The flash popped, blinding me for a second, and then I saw it on the screen. A man. Standing there, maybe 20 feet away, in a white shirt with black stripes, still as a statue. In front of him, a big blue tarp fluttered in the breeze. My blood turned to ice. He wasn't moving, wasn't chasing, just staring like he'd been waiting for me all along. I couldn't breathe. What was under that tarp? Why was he here? My mind screamed run, and this time, I listened. I bolted, legs pumping like they weren't mine, branches clawing at my arms as I crashed back toward the car. She was yelling something from inside, banging on the window, but I couldn't hear over the roar in my head. I yanked the door open, threw myself in, and jammed the key into the ignition. The engine sputtered, God, don't fail me now, and then roared to life. I floored it, tires spitting dirt, the car lurching forward as I swerved onto the road. She kept asking, What? What happened? Her voice high and panicked, but I couldn't answer, not yet. My hands shook on the wheel, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror, half expecting that man to be right behind us, tarp in hand. He wasn't there, but I felt him, like a weight pressing down on me, even as the woods faded away. I just kept driving, faster than I should have, praying the road would take us somewhere safe. We made it back to town, weaving through the rougher streets before pulling up at her place. Inside her room, I finally told her, voice low, cracked, about the man, the tarp, the way he just stood there. I showed her the photo, blurry but real, and her face went pale, her fingers gripping mine. We didn't sleep much that night, just sat there, lights on, jumping at every creak in the house. It was a Friday, no work or school the next day, so I stayed, too freaked out to drive home alone. That was 6 years ago. We're not together anymore. She's 22 now, I'm 23, but we're still tight, bonded by that night. I never called the cops, what would I even say? A creepy guy in the woods? No proof, no crime. But I think about him all the time. That tarp, what was it hiding? A body? Something worse? Every time I drive at night, I scan the shadows, waiting for that striped shirt to step out again. He didn't chase me then, but somehow I know he's still out there, patient, watching. And I wonder if one day he'll finish whatever he started. I was done with New York. The city had chewed me up and spit me out. A dead-end job, a boss who treated me like dirt, and winters so brutal they made my bones ache. So when I landed 2 interviews for corporate gigs in North Carolina, real jobs with benefits and a paycheck I could actually live on, I saw my shot. A fresh start. Better weather too. I couldn't fly, money was tight, and every dollar I had was riding on this trip working out. Driving it was, then, 8 hours plus some change, straight down I-95. I took off work Friday for the interviews, but Thursday was a slog, so I didn't hit the road till after 6 p.m. I swung by my apartment first, grabbed my suitcase, a tie, and some wrinkled dress shirts I hoped wouldn't look too bad. My mom hugged me tight at the door, told me to call when I got there. I promised I would, even though I knew I'd probably forget. The sun was already gone when I merged onto the highway, the sky a flat, heavy gray. 8 hours. I could do this. I cranked the heat in my old sedan, popped the tab on a gas station coffee, and settled in. My ETA was sometime around 2 a.m. Late, but manageable if I kept moving. The first couple hours weren't bad. Traffic thinned out fast, and the caffeine buzz kept me sharp. I was running on fumes, sure. I hadn't slept much the night before, too wired about the interviews, but I told myself I'd power through. This was my chance, my ticket out. I couldn't screw it up. 3 coffees in, somewhere past the Maryland line, the high started to fade. My eyes felt gritty, like sandpaper scraping every time I blinked. The road stretched out forever. Black asphalt, white lines, the occasional truck roaring by. I'd been up since 5 a.m. for work, and the day had been a nightmare. Endless calls, a screaming match with my manager, all piling onto the stress I was already carrying. I kept replaying the interviews in my head. What I'd say, how I'd smile, how I'd convince them I wasn't the burnout I felt like. 8 hours was starting to feel like 8 years. I turned up the radio, some late-night talk show about conspiracy theories, just to keep my brain from drifting. But the monotony was winning. My hands tightened on the wheel as I fought the urge to close my eyes, even for a second. 2 hours left, I told myself. I was so close. Then, out of nowhere, I saw him. On the right side of the highway, under the faint glow of a mile marker, stood a man. Not walking, not waving, just standing. He was dressed in a suit, dark, pressed, like he'd stepped out of an office tower. I slowed a little, squinting through the windshield. Who the hell wears a suit on the shoulder of I-95 at midnight? As I passed him, I couldn't help but stare. His head turned, slowly, deliberately, following my car. Not his body, just his head, like some creepy owl tracking prey. I muttered, "What the hell?" out loud, my voice sounding thin in the empty car. My heart gave a quick thud, more from confusion than fear. Maybe his car broke down, I thought. Maybe he got dumped out here after a fight, some crazy breakup story I could laugh about later. I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see him flag me down, but he was just a shadow now, swallowed by the dark. I shook it off, chalking it up to the coffee jitters or my fried nerves. Still, it stuck with me. Who stands on a highway like that? I started spinning stories in my head to stay awake. Maybe he was a hitchhiker, a businessman with a flat tire, anything to make it normal. But the unease was there, a little knot in my gut I couldn't untie. I turned the radio louder, trying to drown it out, and kept driving. The road felt emptier now, like the world had shrunk to just me and the hum of my engine. 10 minutes later, it happened again. Another man, same deal. Suit, no movement, standing on the shoulder like he'd been planted there. My headlights caught him just as I rounded a curve, and this time I slowed way down, my foot hovering over the brake. Same dark suit, same stiff posture. Was this some kind of prank? A mannequin someone dumped for kicks? I pulled onto the shoulder, my tires crunching gravel, and twisted around to look back. Nothing. Gone. Like he'd never been there. My mouth went dry. Okay, I said to myself, you're losing it. You're just tired. But my hands were shaking as I gripped the wheel. I checked the mirrors again, nothing but black road and faint reflectors. My brain screamed at me to keep going, but my gut was yelling something else. Something's wrong here. I floored it back onto the highway, the engine whining as I pushed it harder than I should have. I needed to stop, get more coffee, get my head straight. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. But that knot in my stomach was tightening, and the quiet of the night felt heavier, like it was pressing in on me. An hour and a half to go. I found a gas station off an exit, some dingy place with flickering lights and a clerk who barely looked up from his phone. I bought a medium coffee, black, and chugged half of it in the parking lot, leaning against my car. The cold bit at my fingers, but I didn't care. I just needed to wake up. Then I saw him again. Across the lot, under a lamppost, there he was. Same suit, same blank stare, facing me like he'd been waiting. I froze, coffee cup halfway to my mouth. This time I got a better look. Middle-aged, short brown hair, clean-shaven, nothing special about him except that stare. Flat, unblinking, like he wasn't even human. I dropped the cup, hot coffee splashing my shoes, and fumbled for my keys. My chest was tight, my breath coming in short gasps. I didn't think. I just moved, jumping into the driver's seat and peeling out of there so fast the tires squealed. I kept checking the mirrors, expecting him to be right behind me, but the road stayed empty. My mind was spinning out of control. Was he following me? How? I hadn't seen another car in miles. I told myself it was the sleep deprivation, the stress, but it didn't feel like a trick of the mind. It felt real, too real. I couldn't keep going like this. My hands were trembling so bad I could barely steer, and my vision was blurring at the edges. I had to stop. I pulled off the highway into some random strip mall parking lot, killed the engine, and reclined the seat as far as it'd go. Sleep. I needed sleep, even just an hour. But as soon as I closed my eyes, that face flashed in my head. Those empty eyes, tracking me. I wrapped my jacket tighter, shivering despite the heat still lingering in the car. The lot was dead quiet, just the faint hum of a streetlight overhead. I was drifting off, finally letting go, when something jolted me awake. I don't know what it was, a sound, a feeling, but my eyes snapped open. I checked the windows first, heart pounding, terrified I'd see him standing there. Nothing. The lot was empty. Then I glanced at the rearview mirror, and my blood turned to ice. There in the back seat was a shape, a man, dark suit, head tilted like he was watching me. I screamed, flinging the door open and tumbling out onto the pavement. My knees hit hard, and I scrambled back, yelling until my throat burned. When I finally looked again, the car was empty. No one. Just my suitcase on the seat, mocking me. I sat there on the ground, panting, staring at my car like it was cursed. My mind was a mess, half of me screaming I'd lost it, the other half swearing I'd seen him. I climbed back in, locked the doors, and finished the coffee. Cold now, but enough to get me moving. I drove the last stretch in a daze, every shadow on the road making me flinch. When I checked into the hotel at 3 a.m., I collapsed onto the bed, still in my clothes, and passed out. The next day, I dragged myself to the first interview. 11 a.m., I was a wreck. Bags under my eyes, shirt wrinkled, but I plastered on a smile. Then the interviewer walked out, and I stopped breathing. It was him. Same brown hair, same clean-shaven face, same dead stare. My legs locked up, my mouth went dry, and I fumbled through the whole thing, barely coherent. He noticed, I saw it in his eyes, but said nothing. I bombed it. The second interview with a woman went better. I got that job, moved to North Carolina, and I'm still here. My therapist later told me it was all in my head, stress and exhaustion conjuring the face I feared most, the man who'd judge me, decide my future. Maybe she's right. But that night, every mile of it felt like something else, something I'll never shake. You have experienced a different life, a phenomenon that you cannot explain. Why? If so, share your story in the comments section below, because someone out there has also experienced the same thing. Don't be afraid to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because the next story could be even more interesting. Share your story. It was a Tuesday night in April, and I was on the road, driving from Chicago to Boston to see a family member run the marathon. Route 20 stretched out ahead of me, one of the longest highways in the country, cutting through endless fields and forgotten towns. I'd started at 3 p.m., right after work, figuring I could knock out the 15-hour drive in one shot. No stops, no breaks, just me, my beat-up sedan, and a playlist of old grunge tunes blasting through the speakers to keep me awake. By 1 a.m., I'd been at it for 10 hours, and the world outside was nothing but a black void. No cars, no lights, just the hum of my engine and the occasional flicker of a mile marker. I liked it that way. Solitude suited me. 2 cups of gas station coffee sat cold in the cup holder, but I didn't care. I was in the zone, telling myself the ache in my eyes was nothing compared to the reward of crashing into a bed when I got there. Then I saw it, headlights in my rearview mirror, faint at first, like a ghost creeping up from the dark. My stomach tightened just a little. 10 hours on this road, and now someone's here? I was in the left lane, cruising steady, when those headlights grew brighter, closer, way too fast. This wasn't some slowpoke semi. This thing was moving, eating up the distance like it had somewhere to be. I flicked my eyes to the mirror, couldn't make out much, just a hulking shape, maybe a truck. All right, fine, I muttered, easing over to the right lane to let it pass. I wasn't looking for trouble, not at this hour. It roared by, an old black pickup, rusted and rattling, the kind you'd see abandoned in a junkyard. I relaxed a bit as it pulled ahead, but then it slowed, way down, until my front bumper was level with its tailgate. My foot hovered over the gas. What the hell was this guy doing? I sped up to shake it off, pushing past 70, then 75. But as soon as I cleared it, the truck swung back into my lane, right behind me, so close I could have sworn I felt its heat on my bumper. My chest tightened. Okay, buddy, back off. I growled under my breath, glancing at the mirror. Those headlights glared back, unblinking, like eyes locked on me. I floored it, pushing the needle to 80, then 85, hoping to lose this creep. The road was mine. Just get some distance, I told myself. But the truck matched me, its engine snarling louder, closing the gap. I switched to the left lane. It followed. Back to the right, it was there too, a shadow glued to my tail. My palms slicked with sweat on the wheel. This wasn't random. This wasn't some drunk jerk having fun. My mind raced. Road rage? A cop? No, not in that beat-up piece of junk. The truck's lights flashed, sharp and aggressive, stabbing through the dark. I didn't slow down. Couldn't. My heart was hammering now, a drumbeat drowning out the music. I scanned the horizon for help. Another car, a gas station, anything. But it was just us, locked in this insane dance at 90 miles an hour. What do you want? I whispered, like it could hear me. The answer came when it surged forward, cutting in front of me and slamming on the brakes. I yanked the wheel hard, swerving to avoid smashing into the truck's rusted tailgate. My tires screamed, the car fishtailing as I stomped the brakes. Ahead, the truck slowed to a crawl, hazards blinking, its driver waving an arm out the window. Slow, deliberate, like he was calling me over. No way in hell, I hissed, my knuckles white. My mind spun. Stopping meant facing whatever this psycho had planned, but speeding past felt just as dangerous. I honked, long and loud, hoping it'd scare him off. It didn't. He started pulling onto the grass, and I saw my shot. I gunned it, flying past as the truck lurched half off the road. But he wasn't done. The truck roared back to life, tearing after me. I glanced back, 100 miles an hour, and he was still there, a black beast in my mirror. My throat went dry. This wasn't a game anymore. It was a hunt. I hit the first exit I saw, tires screeching as I veered off Route 20. The ramp dumped me at a red light, and I stopped, chest heaving, thinking I'd lost him. Then those headlights crept up again, slow and steady, pulling alongside me. My blood ran cold. The truck's window rolled down, and I turned my head, dreading what I'd see. 3 figures stared back, men, I think, wearing those creepy vendetta masks, the kind from that hacker movie. White, expressionless, with black slashes for eyes. They didn't move, didn't speak, just watched me, heads tilted like I was some animal they'd cornered. My brain screamed, run, fight something, but my body froze. "What the hell are you?" I choked out, barely audible. The light was still red, but I didn't care. I slammed the gas, blowing through it onto the main road, weaving past a couple late-night cars. The truck followed for a block, then peeled off, swallowed by the dark. I didn't stop until I found a Walmart parking lot, maybe 20 minutes later. I pulled in, cut the engine, and sat there, shaking, doors locked tight. My hands wouldn't stop trembling as I replayed it all. The chase, those masks, the way they looked at me. Sleep came eventually, fitful and shallow, slumped in the driver's seat. When I woke up at 8 a.m., sunlight glaring through the windshield, it felt like a bad dream. But the ache in my shoulders, the sweat-soaked shirt, they were real. I finished the drive to Boston, told my family over breakfast. They laughed it off. "You're just tired, man. Highways mess with your head." Maybe they were right, but I couldn't shake it. I didn't get the plate number, didn't even see one. That truck was a ghost, and those masks, they burned into my brain, cold and silent. It's been months since that night, and I still drive Route 20 sometimes. Can't avoid it. Every time, I check my mirrors more than I should, half expecting those headlights to flare up again. I tell myself they're gone, whoever they were. Some punks looking for a scare, or worse, something I'll never understand. But the what-ifs keep me up. What if I'd stopped? What if they'd caught me at that light? Were they after me, or just anyone dumb enough to be out there alone? I don't know. All I've got is this warning, etched deep. Highways at night aren't safe. Not for me. Not for anyone. So if you're out there, rolling through the dark, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's lurking just beyond the headlights, waiting for its chance.